Hello, this is Douglas Robinson, and in this video we're going to be creating an object for managing templates for creating tickets. Things like incidents, things like change requests, problems, really any generic business object. And we're going to be using this business object we're creating to produce a map where you can have records for, let's say, an incident, change request, other object that just launch a given one step that you create for managing different types of tickets. That way you'll have an easy way to create those different types of templates and an easy way of managing and organizing them. Now I've started a blueprint before I started my recording in which I created a new business object called ticket template. And I'll walk through what I did so that you're not missing anything. Basically, I said I want to create a new business object, marked it as a lookup table. I unchecked these two boxes for tracking owner and team owner because we don't need those, and I marked it as show in table management. Then I created fields for business object, one step name, one step command. You'll notice these two are 255 characters in length, and then one step command is 200 or 2048, and then a title and description field. Description we marked off as multiple lines. And then for the two one-step fields, basically we're going to have an option where this field or where this record can prompt you for a one-step that runs when you select this template. And to do that, there's a couple of interesting things we do. When you open up the field properties, you go over to General, go to the holds drop down here and select Action Name. On the one-step command, you do something very similar except for you select Action Command. And then on Action Name, or one-step name, we're setting it up to auto-populate what that name value is when the one-step command field changes. So I've set this to auto-populate from my one-step command field, and if you have your one-step command set up with that holds attribute, you'll see an option for action name. Later, we're going to have a prompt that fills in the value of that one-step command field, and then it'll automatically generate the name on the form. Now that we have all of these fields, we're going to our form, and we more or less used the form wizard here, and we'll make some changes after that. Here's what shows up from the wizard. The command field is very big and has a lot of XML in it, so we don't need that on the form. And then next to one step name, we're going to add a button. And this button doesn't really need any text. Maybe I'll just do a little ellipsis because I don't feel like going and finding an icon for it right this moment. And this is the easy way to say, oh, this is a prompt for more. So we'll put this over there. We will align it. And then we will open up the properties and we'll configure this button to prompt for a one step to fill in that value. So we'll go to commands, we'll go to edit, we'll select show legal values. That gives us a pop-up where we pick a field that gets filled in from a prompt. The prompt will look like this, by the way. It's an action prompt when you've set it up to where that field stores an action command. And so then we select our one-step command field. We click OK. And that is that. Now we have a business object where we can fill in a one-step. And I'm going to add some stuff to this guy here for our business object field. This I want to be validated, and I want it to come from a business object name. So I'll have a drop down of different business objects. And we don't need group leaders on that. Now I can configure it with a drop down of all of the business objects in the system. Next, we're going to configure a grid, and here we'll have a title, maybe a created date time, maybe the author, in case there's multiple developers and you want to be able to sort and see who created what. Business object. That'll become redundant if your prompt filters on a given business object. And then description. Great. We'll do that. We'll save. And then we will apply. Actually, I think what we can also do is we can go to the next step before we test this out because testing will be a little redundant. We need to then, to use this template, we need to open up, or we need to create a one step. And here I'm going to put this in our Trebuchet software folder for convenience. And this will be select ticket template. And what this is going to do, the very first action will be an update a variable or stored value action. This needs to collect which template needs to run. And it needs to do so using a prompt. So here we're going to say select a template to execute. And then we're going to have this validated from a table and field. That's going to be our ticket template table. The value it prompts you on is going to be the title of the template, and it's going to return very specifically the one-step command. This can show up in a grid. We click OK. Now we have a variable with the command that needs to be run, and then we can use the execute a command field, or execute a command prompt. Oh, it doesn't let us do command from field. That's too bad. What we can do is we can say run another one step, and this can run a one step based on a scope and value, and that value can come from a variable of template to run. Now, this is based on a scope, so it's filtered based on a scope. So your templates here, they're all going to be user created, so they're all going to be on global, but they'll have to be in global. So it can't be user role team at that point. If you make it a template and is using this function rather than execute a command, whereas execute a command can do anything across the entire system, but it requires that you run it from a business object association. This is going to require that it's all in one common scope. So we're going to do global for that. And then we have our object that allows us to prompt for enter in and select and execute a ticket template. Now we're going to, sorry, I'm managing a cat that's next to me that's trying to walk on my keyboard. Next, we are going to publish our blueprint and test this change out. Sorry, that was the cat. Next, I'm going to sign into the desktop client and I'm going to test out these changes. To do that, we have our new business object has been entered in as a lookup table object. So I need to open up table management. And when I get into table management, I need to find my object and insert a new record for my template. And then I can test out, once I've created that record, I can test out executing it by going to the ticket or going to the relevant one step that I've created. So I'm on my table management form and I've selected this table and then I clicked new to create a new record for it. Now my business object field here didn't save with a dropdown. This is a common bug, at least on this version. I'm building this on version 9.1 for mApp compatibility. It's a common bug with the form editor on this version. You can go and make a change on a form, and if it's the last change you make, on that version it didn't always save that change. If you just went into a form and made a change and then published things out. So we'll republish that. And then we'll reload definitions. I don't think that's as much of an issue on the newer versions because I haven't seen that in a while. But if you're new and that happens to you and you're like, I thought I checked that box, it is a known error on some versions, or a known bug, I should say. That used to happen to me a lot with relationships way back in the day. All right, so we go to table management, we go to our ticket template object, ah, and we create a new record. Now we have a drop down for business object. Now you could make this look pretty by making this a list box instead of a drop down, and you'd have a big list that you can just one click through. And then we select a one step for our template. This can be something simple like, hey, go create a new incident. So for instance, if I create a one step under, ooh, what's this? This looks like a new incident. Can I edit this and see what it does? Does this save a record? Does this fill anything in? In the background, just know I still have a cat that's climbing up on top of me. So if any shenanigans happen while I'm recording, that's why. So we're going to title this test new incident. This runs the out of the box new incident one step. We'll save this guy. And then now let's say I'm on my dashboard and I want to execute a ticket template. Maybe I don't want my users, I want my users to have this option, but I don't want them to go hunt for a specific one step that I've put somewhere. Ignore that little pop-up there. So we're going to put a button on this dashboard for our ticket templates. We'll make this a little bit bigger. This has widget properties. These run the one step that we created in our blueprint under our Trebuchet software folder for selecting a ticket template. We click OK, we click OK, and we should be able to run this one step, which prompts us from our list of templates. This one's for creating a new blank incident. Ah, it says one step not found. Wonder why. Oh, I can tell you why. I built this out assuming that our one step there was, sorry, I built this out assuming that that one step was going to run and execute a command action. And this is a good learning example. The execute a command option uses the XML that comes from the one-step command thing, and the run a one-step based on scope and value. See, this looks for a command and command from field. This looks for scope and value. So template to run actually needs to be the one-step name rather than the XML that you get from that field. So I need to change my prompt to actually return one-step name. So now if I go back to my dashboard, it should magically work. See, when I thought this through in my head, I was thinking I was going to use execute a command. All right, so now we use our template to execute a one step. We select our test, create a new blank incident one step, and boom, we have a one step that creates a new incident. And now if I want to give my users many different templates for different types of tickets or change requests or other things they might want to create, it is as simple as going and adding these things as templates on this table. So what you would do for this is you would create a one step that fills in the field values that you want. So that uses a create business object action, and then that updates certain fields like, hey, if we go to our new incident one, for example. So here's a good example of a one step. Someone went and created this. They titled it new incident. It runs this create a new business object action from over here. And then they just fill out any field values that they want. They say, hey, I want my description to be password reset. I want my short description to be I need to reset my password. I want my priority to be this, and I want the team to go here. Once you have that one step, you select the business object that it's for. This is so that later, if you want to filter based on business objects or even sort based on them, it's easier to do so, but it's not necessarily required. And then you give it a title and a description to make it look more user-friendly in that prompt. And that's it. And so then your users have a very simple way to execute different types of templated tickets so that they don't always have to fill in the same values again and again. And so if you're in a situation where you have, let's say, a top 10 or top 20 most common incidents, and it requires a lot of data entry, this can simplify that without sacrificing the data that's actually going to lead to generating a lot of your reports on the management side. So I usually build these out at a lot of different customers I work with, and I'm going to be creating a map. You'll find it on our website with this exact ticket template object pre-configured so I can save myself time in future engagements but also so if you're watching this, you can download this and implement it and know how to use it. And I'm recording it because, hey, it might be useful for you to know A, how this was configured, but also how to build similar things for other custom modules in the future, because I've done things like this for incident, for change request, done things like this for generating certain types of approvals where where the logic can't exactly be coded or it isn't feasible given the number of development hours or something like that, to where someone just wants to be able to manually select. There's a lot of different uses you can do where you have a record where you want to be able to execute a one step based on a prompt, for instance. And so hopefully this was useful. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to leave them in the comment section below, and you'll be able to find this ticket template map once it's created on our website, which I should highlight if I can open up my browser here. Something slightly in the way of a little thing for it. This is our website, trebuchetsoftware.com. You can find all of the maps and custom applications that we're making available to download or purchase on this site under the Map Store page. And there will also be free options on here too that you can just download. And so you should see this show up on this page at some point shortly. Thanks. Bye.